Hey, how's it going, guys? I have good news. Hoonigan was a success. Video is not out yet. I'm very excited to see it. Lots of people are. It's gonna be really freaking sweet to see. Me and Tom had a blast. It couldn't have gone any smoother. Honestly, like, we could have gotten into a lot of trouble with that GTR, but it just worked out. It was mint. So there was a couple things I've had requests for and couldn't be happier. One was having a review on my car, explaining how it works, explaining what does what, explaining how the shifters work, what fuel I use, what injectors I use, turbos, blah blah blah. That's what I'm going to be doing today. And one thing that I was thinking about doing for a while, I was thinking about doing a turbo build on the red MX3, and I made a post on Instagram. Lots of you had very good responses saying yes, do it, do it, do it, do it. And I am so freaking stoked to do that for you guys. It gives me a good excuse to boost another car, and it gives me a good goal. I want to make the red one very clean. I want to make it look very nice. I want it to be, wow, this is different. It'd be a boosted KJ V6. It's just gonna be like something that nobody's seen before. Like, I didn't even know KJs were an engine of that era of engine, which is like, there's the 1.8, there's a 2-liter, and then there's a 2.5. There's actually multiple 2.5s, but anyways, it's a very cool, unique engine. Doesn't make a whack of power, but it's very unique. And I'm just gonna put the turbo on there, show you guys exactly how I did it for all on budget, and just have a good time, tune it up, and possibly sell it. So if I sell it, that's great. If I don't, it just puts me back further, because I won't be able to afford building my car any further without any more sponsorships. So if I sell it, that's great. But honestly, I probably won't sell it unless it's for a good price, because I am addicted to these cars, and once I've had my hands on for 5 seconds, I don't want to get rid of them. So we'll see. But yeah, today I'm gonna do a build review on my car. Lots of people want to know how it works, because I've been awful at explaining the entire car in one video or one post, because it's a huge process. So it'll probably be a 10-15 minute video of just everything going through. Cool. It's honestly great to be back in Canada. The trip was a success. So I just wanted to show some appreciation for this truck here. This truck did a killer job. Honestly, I thought there would be for sure times where I'm on the side of the road trying to fix something or whatever, but honestly, it got a little hot going up the hills in Utah, but it just ran so good. Got good fuel mileage. It was amazing. Could not thank this truck anymore. I did prep for it. I did all new brakes, all that stuff. I didn't play around. I got all new calipers for it and everything. Like, so everything's new, and yeah, I couldn't be any more happy. Steady, give me a kiss. Good girl. So this is my 91 Mazda MX3 GS. It comes stock with a 1.8 liter V6. It's the smallest V6 ever made in production of cars. So I bought the car 4.5 years ago. It was stock. I got sick of the stock. I painted it. I painted it white. I put a 2.5 under the hood, so I did an engine swap on it. Then I got sick of that. I put bags on it. Then I put the engine in the trunk, which was the mid-engine. And then got bored of that, then made a twin engine. That's a long story short. This is the back engine. It is a 2.5 KLZE. So it has the KL31 cams. I pulled this engine out of my green MX3. That's why I originally bought the green one, for this engine, because I was in desperate need of one. So when I originally did the rear engine swap, that was the first step of this whole process with the twins. So I bought a gray 98 MX3 and I cut from the windshield forward. So I literally, let's pretend this is my donor car that I bought to do the rear engine swap. I cut from here forward. So I took the fenders off and did that exact line right in front of the door, right underneath the windshield and underneath the car. The whole front clip was on a skid. Took the wheels off, took the inner fenders off, plastic's gone, everything gone except for the main frame. So after I cut that out, it was on a skid. I had everything gutted. Then I cut a hole into the trunk of this car and had bracing in there so the body didn't move too much when I cut out the frames. So I cut a big hole, put the engine and tranny in, attached to the old front frames of the car. So I didn't even take the engine off of it. I just dropped it in. Bolted as much things I could to it, like throttle, clutch lines. Well, obviously I had to lengthen my clutch line, but attached everything the best I could, saw if was gonna make sure if it was gonna work. Then I welded 3 pieces from here to the frame, 3 on each side. You can still see the old holes I cut out. I left them there so I could tell people. So I welded a piece of cage from here to there, there to there, there to there. So the frames were stabilized by 3 parts on each side. Not much, but enough to hold the car and enough to give it a try. So these are the frames that used to be in this donor car. And this is where the old firewall used to end. Just easier to see on here. So this is where the old firewall used to end, down in there. Firewall meaning the wall that is in between the engine and the driver. So there's a piece of steel that goes about right here, and wires go in and out of it. And this is exactly where I cut it. That's where I stopped. So I cut it out and retried. I was new, so I needed to make it right. I didn't want to half-ass the job. So I cut it out, redid it, squared up the subframe instead of the frames. Originally, the first time I tried, I squared up the frames to the body of the car. And then the second time, I squared up the subframe to the bottom of the car. So the subframe is what holds your wheels on. So theoretically, that was the better option to go by, is the subframe rather than the frames, because the wheels are attached to it, and that's what drives the car. So I welded it up, took it out for a rip with my buddy. My buddy followed me, and obviously I lined everything up the best I possibly could. And the first time I tried it driving, it was driving sideways, so the car wasn't driving dead straight like this. It was driving sideways like that. Normally on a front wheel drive vehicle, it has a steering rack which steers the wheels left and right. So obviously I didn't want that in the back, so I had to make a system to hold the wheels straight and also have it adjustable for the alignment. I have never had this car on an alignment rack, nor I have never had this car on a hoist since I've bought it. I've had the car for at least 4.5 years, and I've done everything on the ground and never gotten alignment. Moving on, then I put a turbo on the engine when the car was driving straight, threw a turbo on it, boogied it in the backyard a bit, boogied it on the street a bit, and then I was like, this thing drives perfect. Like, it's not like a janky thing, like it actually works very well. So I made up a nicer shifter for it. I'll get to that in a minute. So after going through 5 transmissions in one summer, due to having the car decently heavy, and these transmissions being known for being G series, aka glass series. That's what they're actually called, but we just nicknamed them glass. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put an engine in the front, no big deal. Put a turbo on that as well, same thing. So that was just the backstory of it. Now I'm gonna like get deeper into what the car is actually doing and how it does it. My car is still equipped with air ride. There is my air tank right here. I made these strut towers in the back of the car. They were the old mx3 ones, but I had to modify them to make it work. I also made the car's rear end less wide. I run a 3P system from Air Ride, and I made it custom to fit. As you can see, this wheel is flush, and this one is poking. The wheels have the exact same offset, and I made that custom due to I wanted to fit a 255 without rubbing. Both of the engines are ran on a MegaSquirt PNP computer. It's a tunable software computer that can be basically wired for any vehicle. The car has 2 MegaSquirts, one for each engine, because there's not such thing to power 2 RPM signals and all that in one ECU, so I had to run 2. So when I tune my car, I have to flip programs and wires and parameters for my tune. So when I'm road tuning, I need to tune the back first and then the front first. That's what order I usually do it. And then turn up the boost with the back first, then turn up the front. Here's my MegaSquirt. I have Homemade rad system in the back. I cut it out from the front of an MX3, so I utilized anything I could have possibly. Both engines have a 3.7 liter gas tank, and it's only used with E85. Both engines also have 850cc FD Mazda injectors off of RX-7. They are bolt-on. Any RX-7 injector that is side feed will work on a Mazda MX-3 engine, so I optimized to that. And okay, here's my shifter. I made this myself. It's kind of messy in here. Just don't worry about it. If you want the video, you want the video. So here's my shifter right here, and here's my shifter plate. I got the shifter plate made. I got a machinist to make these two shifters that I bought off the internet. That 1/16th apart. There's no bushings in the entire setup except for where it bolts into the tranny, like so. And other than that, I made everything else. Everything's on bearings. So I can simultaneously shift the engines when I grab both the shifters, or I can individualize the shifting with grabbing either or shifter. The right shifter is for the rear transmission, and the left shifter is for the front transmission. Both of the throttle cables go to the exact same throttle pedal. So if I have both engines running and I hit the gas, it will rev up both the engines. Pretty much the only thing I didn't do on the car was the wrap. The wrap was done by Dynamic Auto Styling. They sponsored the car, could not be any more thankful. And for the front engine, it is a KLZ as well. It's fully built. It has rods, valves, cams, that I removed the cams. It is fully balanced and blueprinted. I modified everything so it can come out without removing the turbo, so everything clears. So when I'm ready to pull out the engine, everything will come out in one piece. So then I can assemble and disassemble without breaking my back. And it's all balanced and blueprinted, which is very nice for beating the crap out of it. Both of my turbos are 6250 Imusa, also known as they are eBay. I run Turbo Smart wastegates. And for the clutch, I have one output from the clutch pedal that pushes two. So I have it on a slotted piece of steel. So when I push out, the input is two outputs. So it's pushing on two master cylinders that are Willwood. And it is fully adjustable. I can adjust each one with each nut. So if I want one to engage later, I can adjust in or out, whichever I desire. This front engine has a small rad I installed to save some weight. And for underneath, I have custom made traction bars for the front and for the back. They go to the center of the car right here. So these ones are not installed right now, but I took them off so I could drift around. But they are on the back. There they are, they're all adjustable. They go back and forward, right to the center of the car. And above this is where the cage starts, so it's mounted right to the cage. I've modified each distributor for an external coil to increase this spark. Each engine has their own fuel system, so each has one fuel pump and a gas tank. So each engine has a 3.7 liter fuel tank, like so, down there. And the back one also has one down. I have a hydraulic e-brake installed for drifting. The rear diff is welded so I can drift, and the front one is an LSD so it can still turn and lock up both fronts. The top button panel is for my front engine and the bottom is for the rear. So each engine can be started individually or started at the same time. Wideband for the rear and two boost gauges, one for the front, one for the rear. And down here is my tack, speedo, fuel, and heat for the rear. Wideband, RPM, and temp for the front engine. I just discovered the most embarrassing / funny thing I've ever seen in my life. I looked down to look at my fuel cell in the front, and I didn't put the cap on the last drive I did at Hoonigan, and I didn't realize till now. The cap is gone, and it is full of rubber. Oh my God. That is literally my fuel tank full of rubber. So I guess I gotta take her apart, buy a new cap, clean the entire fuel system, and try again. The rear brakes are actually front brakes off of an MX3, 4-bolt still. So it's just the front subrim and the back. So I used the brakes that were on it as well, but obviously I replaced them with new factory replacements. So the rear brakes are actually front brakes, which is larger. Front brakes are the stock size for the front, and I've obviously replaced them too. There's my airbags in there for the front, airbags for the back. The car's great. It's so much fun. There's always new things I can try with doing power to the front, power to the back, power putting one forward, power putting one back, doing burnouts, standstill. You'll see in Hoonigan, I guess. But yeah, it's great. I've had a lot of fun with this thing, and I can't wait to move forward with it. I don't know how I'm going to move forward with it. I'm going to take a break from it and move on to the red one and turbo that one. But the only reason why I'm doing that is because I want the full winter to utilize that to purple drank right here, Suicidemx3. But now I can still take it to car shows if I can, because the car's still together and runs. So that'll be what I'll be doing if that comes across. So yeah, this is my car. I hope I went over everything good enough. I didn't go over the shifter too well. I'm not jacking the car up, but yeah, can't tell all my secrets, I guess. But yeah, there she is. I hope you enjoyed. Any questions, go down to the comments, hit like, and also subscribe. Thanks.